Lawmakers are demanding the president pay back Texas taxpayers over $1.4 billion for keeping the border secure as the federal government ignored it.
Texas Congressman Pat Fallon introduced the bill to make that happen, and Texas Congressman Austin Pfluger is supporting it. They both join us now. It is called the Lone Star Reimbursement Act. Congressman Fallon, tell us about it.
Well, you know, we share in Texas a 1,254-mile border with Mexico. And in March of 2021, Governor Abbott instituted the Lone Star, Operation Lone Star, which was the federal government has abdicated their responsibility to secure the border. So Texas has stepped up. I spent 8 years in the Texas legislature, and where the federal government lacks and lets the Mexican drug cartels run wild, the state of Texas, filled that gap. And it costs $1.4 billion. So Texas shouldn't be disproportionately punished because Joe Biden has made every state a border state. So this bill would reimburse Texas justly for the expense of doing the federal government's work.
And Congressman Pfluger, this goes to you. What's the biggest issue? Obviously, it's kind of a group issue here. You've got the drug crisis, you've got the low morale and the low agent numbers, border agent numbers. What would the majority of this money go to really help you guys see some relief?
Well, and I'm proud to join with Congressman Fallon on this because the administration has abdicated their responsibility. Governor Abbott has sent Texas National Guardsmen down there. And all in all, their encounters, their rejections, and their apprehensions have totaled 200,000 illegal immigrants. So the $1.4 billion would reimburse their expenses, their lodging, their operations. I mean, everything that it takes for them to deploy down to the southern border and do something that is not their primary duty. But let's be clear, this is not going to fix the issue. The Biden administration has to do that. They don't have the political will. You heard Mayra Flores speaking about the border, and Texas voters have spoken loud and clear when they elected her because they're sick and tired of the Biden administration not doing their job in protecting our communities in Texas.
Yeah, and Congressman Fallon, when it comes to border security, it's all about national security. Border Patrol agents have already apprehended 50 people on the terror watch list trying to sneak into our country. At the same time, there are 440,000 known gotaways, 440,000 people in our country right now, and we don't know what their intentions are. It feels like a ticking time bomb. What do we do about it?
Well, you know what? You're absolutely right, because the worst month we ever had in our history as a country in almost 2.5 centuries was in April, where there were 234,000 illegal border encounters. But then May numbers came in, and it was almost 240,000, which is now the worst that we've had in history. Since Joe Biden has been in office, there's been, if you can count the gotaways and the illegal encounters, 3.3 million. This is not a border crisis. This is a border catastrophe. What we need to do is re-implement Trump-era policies, which is the wait in Mexico. If you claim asylum, you will wait in Mexico while your claim is adjudicated, build the wall, and deport particularly criminal elements back to their home countries.
Congressman Pfluger, why do you think it is that the Biden administration completely refuses to secure the border? Because when you have the border czar, Kamala Harris, nowhere in sight, and when she does speak to America and to the people, it's not about the border, and she's supposed to have control over this. What do you think it is? Because it doesn't seem like it's doing them any favors, but it seems like they think it is in some odd way.
Well, you're absolutely right. It's not doing anybody any favors. It's making our communities less secure. We had 100,000+ deaths from fentanyl. Small towns are completely overwhelmed. Law enforcement is having to do the job of what the administration should be doing. Our gratitude goes to the Border Patrol agents who are put in a terrible situation and actually having to do, more administrative work. But it's hard to say why. But what we do know is it's crisis after crisis after crisis. President Joe Biden has led us into these crises. And I think the American public is going to speak loud and clear in November, just like they did with Mayra Flores' election this past week.
Yeah, and Congressman Fallon, President Biden's approval rating with the Hispanic community is terrible. It's 26%. Mentioned Mayra Flores. She flipped that historically blue district red. And a lot of this does have to do with the border issue. Do you think that Democrats will change their calculus on this once they realize that it's not working with the Hispanic voter?
Well, I think they're probably going to do that after the November election, because they just keep doubling down on leftist policies that don't work. But I'll tell you something. The people in Texas are tired of it, as my good friend August Pfluger said, down particularly on the border.
Yeah.
When you see like a Ryan Guillen, I was in the state house with Ryan Guillen for 6 years. He was an 18-year Democratic state rep who changed parties. Now he's a Republican, and he's our Republican nominee because he's sick of the chaos, the cartels, the corruption, and the crime.
As he should be.
Yeah, and that's why
Congressman, we got to leave
reporters
it there. Fox and Friends is starting in just a few seconds. It's actually starting